Okay, so I got my deck of Tarot of Oppositions. I've been wanting to get this deck for a while, as you well know, people. Sorry about that. I've been sick for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks. I have a sinus infection and bronchitis and all sorts of lovely stuff. But the interesting thing about this deck is, one, it's by Lo Scarabeo. As you can see from my lovely little card that they include now, which you can go and follow them over on Instagram, which is kind of cool. They have it on both sides. You can follow them on Facebook as well. And I love this new kind of holder where it slides down. It's a little bit more secure, but it's also easier to take off and get the cards in the little white book out, the guidebook. So I like this a lot easier. And I love how they show the features on here. So it's interesting. Like you have the features, so you can match them up a little bit more if you like, or what have you. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you about the book is it does give you some layouts, some spreads, interpreting light and shadow. And it goes into different aspects, like giving you an example. And giving you like the different interpretations of how the light and shadow mean, depending if they're right side up or reversed as well. And then they go into, instead of the major arcana, they start in the suits. Cups, Pentacles, etc. Wands, swords. They give you and then they give you into the different interpretations of different languages. But they also talk about the arcana, the major arcana. And the interesting thing about the major arcana is that their shading is slightly different. So when you talk about the negative versus the positive, it's slightly different. So in regards to, is it an exact negative, like an exact reverse? It may not be. And that's one of the interesting things about the deck that I find that's interesting regarding it. It's like, this is about, like the Empress is about passion and feminine power. And then the negative is about, you have no need to seduce in order to be loved. Dominate your selfish impulses and do not foster such energies in others. So it's not a complete reverse. What it is, it's a inverse. It's a negative version. It takes then to what you do versus what you don't do. Which is actually more accurate. It is more of a revelation in how you deal with the reverse versions. The other reason why I like this card, this deck in total is, let's get to the, I mean, it's not, is the fact that you have the Fool. And you see he's being followed by a bird. And in reverse, you see he's slightly different, blonde, brunette. And who's he being followed by? Looks like a wolf. Not a wolf, a fox. So it's different. He has a branch, but he doesn't have anything in his bag. He looks a little bit more ragged. So definitely, you know, there's no rose. There's, you know, so there's differences here. Like with the magician, you have the different suits showing up. And in this case, these are more traditional, but he actually looks more like the traditional that you'd see in the Solbuska. So that's actually kind of cool too. The Empress is the same way. You have the Jacqueline and Boaz, and you see her sitting on a moon. And then you see her now darkened, no names, no initials. But now you see her crown is darkened. So she's like the dark side of the moon. You know, so it's a little bit more impactful when you see it this way. The Empress. She has her throne. She has the bird here and the flowers. And on this side, the bird is a little bit more intimidating. And look at how here she's more of sunshine and delight versus here where she is not so delightful. She's a lot more hampering. She's a little bit more decisive in how she is. So all the cards are like this. And I like this because it's a lot more not necessarily intimidating, but it does show a little bit more depth into both the way we look at things, which I have to admit, I love this card. This card is like fantastic. But when you look at these cards, oh, my favorite, the Hermit, lighting the way to knowledge, but being solitary versus the light has gone out. Wisdom has gone out. The Wheel of Fortune. We know things go around. Your fortune can go up and down. In the reverse, you can be plagued because your fortune has gone the other way around. So, justice. And justice doesn't give a shit. The Hanging Man, spiritual thing, versus the Hanging Man having hung for quite a while, not finding his wisdom, not finding anything spiritual or worthwhile. So all the cards have these different looks. Temperance, the Devil, which I love all these looks. The Tower is magnificent about the change versus obliteration of your change because you're not accepting it. The Star, hope and no hope. Revelation versus deception. The Sun. Oh, judgment. Good judgment versus bad judgment. The world versus the world destroyed. So you can see a lot more of how this is played out. A lot more of how this is looked at. You know, Four of Cups. And I love how the fact that they put this as evenly as possible with the one in the middle. So it makes it so the count is always even. And it works. So, yeah. I love the decorative and how it actually plays out between the queens and the kings. How each card really lays out and shows you what it means. And these cards are still the usual Lo Scarabeo, thinner, plasticky a little bit, but at the same time too, they do have a little bit, they do slide really easy, which is great, especially if you use them. And I do like the way that these shimmer and change. And like I said, this deck is definitely, if you really want to get into the reversals, or as they put it, as positive and negative, this is really a great way to get into that, especially if you've not been getting into those reversal types. Like, seriously, I'm enjoying the way that they look. I mean, and just so you know, the back is just beautiful. It's like I said, it's just, so you can't tell. And I love the outlines on the sides. They're so thin and small, and yet they're really out of the way. But the demarcation is enough where you can see the name without being without it being in the way. So I like that. So yeah. And that King of Swords. You see him there with the sun and the moon. And on the other side, there is no sun or moon, just darkness and dead roses. Interesting, isn't it? So definitely a lot to think about. Definitely a deck that you will probably find yourself using over and over again. So of course, you know, that means we're gonna have to do a reading. And because it's a new deck, it's not going to shuffle Zizzi for bending purposes right off the bat. But that's okay, because we'll make it shuffle. First things first, we're gonna cut it in half and then shuffle the cards. deck, shuffle the cards. And I'll do the other half. I like it once you're able to riffle shuffle the deck. Some people like corner shuffling. Some people just like hand shuffle. I like to do a bit of both, only because for me it allows better a mixture. No, we're not going to do that yet. Thank you. Really? And with my thumb being as arthritic as it is, my thumb hates me. So we're just gonna find just a general reading to see what is going on. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually read from the book a bit, just to see how their intentions work with this versus plain sentence readings. Because, you know, we should be curious about this stuff. What will we get for a final card? What will we get for... Okay, this one. Eight of Pentacles. Oh, Six of Pentacles. I'm sorry. Alright. Alright. There we go. So let's take a look here. And I like how we have a mix of right side up and right side down. So the first one we have is the Four of Cups. Now, with the Four of Cups, which I like so much, it's a beautiful, it's the time has come to set aside outside influences and come up with new ways to do what you hope to finish. Seek the truth, question your heart. You can listen to the voices around you, but only after you heed your own counsel. Calmly consider all possibilities and continue to enjoy the good and beautiful in the world. One thing about the Four of Cups that I love the way that they depicted is that they're outside, they're meditating, they are considering all things. They're not letting the advice from others get in the way with what they know is right. They're taking the thoughts and the points that they made into consideration, but they're not letting all those different points sway them to any one thing. In this day and age, we allow that to happen a lot, and that's not what we need to be doing. There's too many people who buy into misinformation and don't do what they know is right. And they end up losing their lives, their health, things of that nature. Now, we have the Queen of Pentacles in the negative. Now, when I looked at that, I was like, oh, this is going to be so interesting. I feel like Bugs Bunny all of a sudden. So interesting. So the Queen of Pentacles in the negative says, your luck is great, but it could fade or end suddenly, forcing you to sow again and put off harvest until the future. Manage life, love, friendship, and especially money and work well to remain prosperous. At some junctures, it would be better to give away to others and employ your energies more wisely. So this here, saying don't listen to others all the time. Make sure that you take what you know that will benefit, but don't be swayed. This is saying, hey, you do have some really good luck happening. You are, making stuff work. You're manifesting well. However, that luck can fade or end suddenly, causing you to have to restart that process again, especially if you're not careful. If things hit a bump and you let that blow you away. You let that basically unseat your balance. And in some cases, it may be better to give away some of those aspects, those things that you've been blessed on, like an article idea, like, or in my case, it would happen to be a story process that I was dealing with, and I was working on it with a friend of mine, and I basically walked away from it and let them have it, because it was just easier to give it to them than for me to keep hold of it. So that's what I did. Why? Because there's so many other things that I could do. And just walking away from that process was just a lot easier. So what are some of the things that we're dealing with that may be hampering us? So we've got the Ten of Swords. Ooh. Wow. Ten of Swords, and it looks like in the negative. Wait, isn't that special? So let's take a look here and see what's going on. Oh, wow. So the Ten of Swords, according to the book, says the word that should teach you the most is change. Renew your vitality, refresh your mind, change the places you usually go and the people you always associate with. Practice and patience, careful reflection will help you overcome stagnation, fear, and lifeless habits. Because one of the things regarding this is the fact that if you don't change, this is what you are. You're stagnant. This is what you're sitting in. You are in lifeless habits. You are stagnant. You're in fear. But right now, you are patient. You are reflecting upon yourself, cutting away those things that you no longer need. You're getting your strength back. You are looking at people and realizing, do I really need to associate with them? These are the things that hold you back. You are looking at these things, these people, these places that you go to, and realizing that some of them may not be the best for you. And you're thinking about making those changes. And what making those changes are going to do, they're going to make you to the positive, where you're starting to make that change. You're breaking out of those old habits, old things, to make your life much better. Now, let's talk about the Nine of Swords. Ooh, that one is one of the ones that, I'll be honest with you, Nine of Swords and I, we have moments. We do. We have moments. So the Nine of Swords in the negative is you feel isolated, unhappy, sick, and depressed, unable to cope. It is time to get help from those stronger than you and cure your deep-seated ills. If you don't, they may utterly overwhelm you and hinder your existence with nightmares and despair. So many of us have this, and it may not be continual. It may come and go. Therapy is wonderful. Having good friends is awesome. Don't be ashamed of having mental illness. Don't be ashamed of being depressed. Depression is, I'm not going to tell you it's normal, but it's common. We all have different levels of depression. When you're isolated, when you're unhappy, when you are sick, you feel like everything is going wrong. You don't feel like you can cope with anything in your life. Not even getting up to make food. It's tough. It sucks. I get that pretty much every day. I'm disabled. I have good days and bad days. And my good days, I can make 2 meals out of a day on a good day. On a bad day, pre-made food is my friend, because it gives me enough energy to get through a day. So don't give up. You need to realize that by getting help, by leaning on those stronger than you are, by having a good support system, they are those people that will help you from being overwhelmed, that will help you and push you. And I mean, by push you, I mean by being, hey, what do you need? What can I do? That kind of pushing. Hey, have you made your therapy appointment yet for next week? When's your therapy appointment? Do you need a ride? That kind of pushing, the good stuff. And that way you have the support you're going to need in order to get past the nightmares, the despair, the feeling of helplessness. And it does work. I came out of a very bad mental breakdown when about a year after my mom died. And it took therapy twice a week for 3 months. And then once a week for a month. And then every 3 weeks for a year, 2 years. And then once a month. And then once every 3 months. For about a total of 5 years before we went to once every 6 months. But I learned coping skills. I learned how to deal with my PTSD. I learned how to deal with all sorts of different things. I learned to deal with the trauma of my past. I learned to see the signs of when I was hitting into a spiral. That was fun. So don't give up. Get help. I promise. These are the things you need to look for. So let's say we take the time to weed out the bad stuff. What happens next? What do we have to look forward to if we start making changes? Well, according to this, we have a 3 of Cups coming aboard. And this 3 of Cups is positive. A peak of joy and union with those you love is coming. Passion, eroticism, and an increase in the things you valued are favor Act now to create the right conditions. Projects, enterprises, alliances, and periods of shared happiness will make you appreciate the colors of life. You see those lovely colors? You see how bright, how happy the person is in this picture? And the fact that you're going to get joy and union with those you love. And that's not just romantic love. That's also agape. That's also brotherly love. That's also that platonic love with your besties. You're going to feel the joy and the thrill of having those who you are truly close to and who truly love you back are going to have. This is going to be that joyful period that you're going to be able to produce things and feel good about yourself. You're going to have self-love like nobody else's business by being able to handle those things better. That's what you're going to be able to do, to share that love and enjoyment of life. That's big. So what about this Three of Wands here? That looks a little bit depressing, but is it? Or is it a learning issue that we might need to have? Well, the Three of Wands in negative says, uncover what is preventing you from acting quickly and effectively. You'll probably find it within yourself and perhaps in the people close to you who are also going through a hard time. You will overcome difficulties through awareness of what has happened to you. So it's a reminder, hey, if things are kind of taking a slow turn, if things are not going as fast as you had thought they would, look inside yourself. What's holding you back? What is making you afraid to step forward? Those are the things that you need to look at. Those are the things that you need to process. What if somebody else close to you is having a hard time and it's holding you back too? What about them is holding you back with their issues? Should they be holding you back with their issues? Why are you letting them hold you back? Their issues are their issues. They're not yours. No, seriously. I don't care if they're family. I don't care if they're your brother, sister, mother, father. Their issues are there to deal with. They are not yours. They are not your burden. You can't fix them. They can only fix themselves. You can support them when they decide to get up off their asses and fix their stuff, but you cannot make them. That's the whole saying of you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. You can give your parents, you can give your sisters and your brothers, your cousins, all the resources to get themselves better. But they won't do it until they are ready. You have to focus on you. So what is this card? The Six of Pentacles. And look at it. It's bright and shiny and looks really, really pretty. I'm all about the real pretty stuff because I like that. So the Six of Pentacles is a positive here because we see that this is the right side. It's all pretty and everything. It says, you will receive the appreciation, gratitude of those who have benefited from your generosity. Be even more righteous and work to multiply material goods in order to keep everyone in prosperity. Detach yourself from the effort of your works by rejoicing in goodness and prosperity. So what does this actually mean? So basically it says people are going to appreciate everything you do. They're going to be grateful for everything that you've done and being so generous to them. Whether it is you give them a discount for something that you've created, whether it be that occasionally you might gift somebody something. But even more, when you are able to be generous on occasion, you're going to find yourself being given things in return that are going to multiply, whether it be more fabric, whether it be more items, whether it be more promotional goods, whether it be like any kind of thing that can make your life easier. These are the things that are going to do. But you need to also realize that, yes, your work takes effort, but detach yourself from that for a second by looking at, yes, it takes effort, but rejoice in the fact that, oh my God, yeah, it takes a hard work to get there, but look at how much you've accomplished. Look at how people are benefiting from what you do, and look at how much has been brought to you due to this. That's what the Six of Cups is about. Rejoicing in the prosperity that you have and the generosity that you've given and how it comes back to you by the more that you do that. So you may think, oh, that sounds awesome. But I also want you to remember the last card in the deck, the King of Pentacles, upright. Because there's always a card that I want to always focus on when I get to the end of a deck. And he's in the positive mode. And it says, here's the triumph of well-being in earthly matters, overcoming shallow materialism. And I'm going to be honest with you. Many people are shallow materialists. Me before thee. I get first before you get shit. I should get whatever I want. It's all about me. Why should I have to wear a mask? Because I haven't been sick. What do you mean that you're disabled, so you need me to mask? That's materialism. That's selfish materialism. Because the King of Pentacles is all about respecting the rules of the world, the rules of community. Because the king realizes that if it's not for the good of the community, then nobody benefits. And this is a direct quote from the book. It is a victory of respecting the rules of the world and not being overwhelmed by possessions. So if you're overwhelmed by things for you, just for you, all for me, myself, and I, are you respecting the rules of the world? Manage your kingdom with shrewdness, generosity, and determination, and it'll expand with further wealth in every aspect of life. So if you can't do for others, you can't be generous with knowledge, with patience, with the idea of community, your wealth will not go further. The King of Pentacles specifies this. It dead says it takes the rule of the world into consideration. That is victory. So you want to succeed and get more and more, then you need to respect it. Because look at that darkness. There's no respect there. Just a thought. So overall, I'm going to tell you, I like this deck. I really like it a lot. I just wish that there were some keywords on each of the, for each side. Some facing this way and some facing that way, just to make it easier for newbies. Yes, looking at it will help, but then you still have to memorize things. But overall, I would give this an 8.5 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10. But yeah, that's the only thing I would say. Overall, I absolutely love this deck. I wish it was a little bit smaller, just because with the arthritis in my hands, it's making it a little bit harder to work. But yeah, I love it. Hopefully you will too. Until next time, Bendithian.